The Xbox buying Activision Blizzard deal continues to rage on with new news from the kind of CMA, or well, the UK government, essentially, in regards to how the deal is going over there. Be sure to like the video. Subscribing is great as well. So first off, we have details from Microsoft talking about the merger, their perspective. And I was just kind of capturing quick news bits or pieces of information here that I think are quite relevant. So this one is neat because it says it has no intention to withhold or degrade access to Call of Duty, COD, or any other Activision content on PlayStation. So this one is neat because they said, obviously, we know they're not going to be taking away Call of Duty. They've mentioned that. They've got like 10-year contracts. But usually it doesn't mention other Activision content, which some kind of are looking at that as maybe there's not going to be exclusive content. I mean, you don't really buy another company not to make some content exclusive. So that's just an interesting little thing to keep in mind as we continue to monitor this deal. Just something that popped up to me that I was kind of like, oh, that's an interesting note or a little extra legal doc thing. But I still am pretty confident we'll see lots of exclusivity from content, just not necessarily Call of Duty for a while. So the Call of Duty campaign is the next portion here. So they're kind of talking about the fact that the average campaign is 6 to 8 hours, and apparently it's one of its most compelling elements that are valued by gamers. So this is something that makes it very unique from other franchises, I guess. There's only 2 franchises with comparable engagement according to Sony, because this is a Sony provided information thing. And the first time Sony's actually provided more document pages than anyone else. FIFA and Fortnite. So they're kind of mentioning how the CMA is overlooking the fact, or well, the addendum to that is overlooking the fact that some COD players buy the game just for the campaign, as that would be more likely for a potential switcher of console platform. So that's interesting and a different aspect that I hadn't really considered. Now this one I also quite like. Now we've got a bit more time dedicated to this portion here, because it is, I think, the first official kind of legal type confirmation that Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be an Xbox exclusive. So we've known, Starfield's coming, we've known Redfall's coming. There was assumptions, I had assumed, and maybe there's some detail online that I haven't quite seen or missed, but I think this is the first legal type document where one of the companies has straight out been like, Elder Scrolls 6 is 100% exclusive. So, literally part of the addendum there is the CMA is aware since Microsoft acquired ZeniMax, obviously like Bethesda and everything underneath, the parent company ZeniMax. Microsoft announced that future ZeniMax titles, Starfield, Elder Scrolls 6, and Redfall will be Xbox exclusives. So we now have, again, I guess a key note there that we are actually getting, Elder Scrolls games down the road will be exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem. And there's some other verbiage about the ecosystem and, their intention of pulling stuff out of Bethesda. We've gone over all these details. They never said, the stuff was going to keep on other platforms. People believed what they wanted to believe. But it's just an interesting detail that I thought we should highlight, that this is like sort of official legal confirmation that is going to be the case, which is really interesting, assuming we ever get Elder Scrolls 6. Who knows when that's going to be coming out, right? But just kind of a neat spot. They also go on to mention the one individual from kind of the Redfall devs that sort of mentioned that a PlayStation version was in development for Redfall, and that they instead were focusing, obviously as soon as Xbox bought them. That one, definitely I think Xbox and Microsoft need to do a better job of having a handle on their, kind of staff, because that is not a great look, but I mean, we obviously knew that was the case and this was already provided prior, but it's bad for PR if that makes sense. This next one is about the implication that Microsoft could degrade Call of Duty on PlayStation. So these are the different ways that it could be degraded, kind of working around certain aspects. And I thought this one was neat to mention because it's just a lot of like quick facts. Raising the price just for PlayStation, releasing the game at a later date for PlayStation, making it available only on Game Pass. And it kind of, the addendum sort of, I guess from Sony's perspective, doesn't really note that basically they're saying these things don't appear to matter to the CMA. They're saying literally the CMA is looking at this as these options being things that wouldn't harm competition between PlayStation and Xbox. So it is intriguing, as those were methods that I thought you could kind of get around if you wanted to, but I also don't think that'll necessarily be the case. It doesn't really make sense that they would, but it's something to think about. This one's also really fun. Call of Duty gamers are passionate, knowledgeable, and sophisticated. Huh. That's very, very intriguing. So I guess if you are, part of the Call of Duty gamer crew on the PlayStation, you got a top hat and a monocle because you are of high society and sophistication. So they mentioned gamers engage with each title in the franchise immediately after its release and are keenly aware of the game's price and quality. The whole thing they're trying to build up to is essentially there being like, these big kind of detailed tech analysis groups online. They showcase these games and their opinion can heavily impact the purchasing of these games. So these Call of Duty fans that are sophisticated, knowledgeable, and passionate every year are going to be more swayed if the game technically doesn't run as well on another platform. But I mean, again, that seems just so silly to me that I would even think that would happen. And then it goes on further. Any degradation in the price, performance, or quality of play on PlayStation or any delays on release would quickly harm SIE's reputation, Sony's reputation, and cause a loss of engagement and of players. The CEO, Jim Ryan, explained to the CMA at the Remedies hearing, if PlayStation received a degraded version of Call of Duty, it would seriously damage our reputation. Our gamers would desert our platform in droves and network effects would exacerbate the problem. Our business would never recover. I would imagine it was kind of dramatic like that. Do you think he did it in like a bit of a deadpan, or do you think it was a bit of a, our business would never recover? Sort of a really intense emotional kind of bit. I think it's a little over the top, a little ridiculous that they think that is something that would happen. So with that, those are kind of the key notes that we got. I'd like to dive into some thoughts on this. To me, this kind of looks like a bit more of a desperate play from Sony/PlayStation in regards to the deal. The deal is expected to close in the UK, the CMA, within the next few weeks here. So final remedies are going through, final details are going through. They should be very much done and good. They've already dropped issues from the console perspective. They're kind of engaging with the cloud perspective at this current point in time. So we should see at least this part of it wrapped up very, very soon. The European Union aspect will also wrap up very soon as well. And then this whole deal should be done within the next few months. Obviously, the US, there's going to be long-term kind of things on that one, but that doesn't really matter as much because Xbox will be closing after the CMA and the EU is handled. So, yeah, it looks like pretty smooth sailing from this point forward, and should be neat to see what kind of legal documents arrive. If you found this helpful, again, liking the video is great, subscribing is great as well, and these are pretty neat things to do.